Vaxxed versus Variants, an Urban League COVID update and discussion. In part 3, you'll hear from educators and community leaders about educating our children during the pandemic. It's all coming up right after this.
COVID-19. We've been fighting an enemy we cannot see. But with every punch, a new variant would arise, and its blows would prove to be devastating. Step by step, with every motion and movement of the virus, the Urban League of Greater Cleveland has stayed off the ropes and in the ring fighting for you. Through the Vaxxed versus Variant campaign, we continue to share information to stay ahead of our next opponent. We've taken some hits as numbers increased, but our eyes remain focused on the prize. As we battle COVID-19, we remain strong, resilient, relentless, and tough like little giants. We will win.
Well, yeah, I think that everybody is kind of ready to move past COVID and start to get back towards regular life again, or what it will be after COVID, because it'll probably be a little bit different. And we can start to do that, but we also still have to understand that COVID isn't entirely gone yet. And so we still need to make sure that we're doing the things that will help protect us to stop us from either getting sick, getting other people sick, and risking further complications. We still want to encourage people to get vaccinated if they have not gotten vaccinated yet. Vaccination is still the best protection that someone can have against severe disease from COVID. People may not be hearing about it as often because luckily our cases have dropped, but people are still getting sick, people are still dying from COVID. I have a high concern about pregnant women. Women should get vaccinated while they're pregnant. We've seen some pretty horrible outcomes, pregnancy-related outcomes for both mom and baby if mom gets COVID while she's pregnant. Getting vaccinated while pregnant also helps protect the baby. You can still take other precautions like masking, like distancing, like staying away from large groups and gatherings, but the thing that's going to protect people the most is vaccination. If you do have an existing medical condition, if you smoke, because we saw higher rates of COVID and more severe disease among smokers too, diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, anything like kidney disease, HIV/AIDS, then for certain to get vaccinated. Almost any medical condition, there's not a reason to not get vaccinated. There's very few reasons why a healthcare provider would not recommend that for someone. Almost universally, they're going to recommend a vaccination. The other thing is of course to make sure that whatever your medical condition is, that you're getting the proper care for that too, because if your blood pressure is under better control or you're in a better health status overall, then that can help if you do get sick to be able to get through it and bounce back hopefully. While kids generally do okay if they get COVID, that we can see kids get very sick from COVID as well. And those cases are always tragic, and you don't know when or who it's going to happen to. So vaccination is still the best way to protect them. The biggest message is to stay vigilant. While we're in a great place right now, we've already seen, this is like our 5th wave of COVID surges, that it can change pretty quickly. And what people can really do is make sure that they stay up to date on their vaccinations. So, you may have had the first 2 shots, or you got 1 shot of Johnson & Johnson, and then you were eligible potentially for a booster dose. And now we got a second booster dose that just recently got approved for those who are 50 and over. So we have to stay up to date on vaccines. So even if you've gotten it before, your protection can decrease over time. So it's really important to make sure to keep your level of protection up, that you get those booster doses when you're eligible.
Welcome back to Vaxxed versus Variants, an Urban League update. Joining us are Dr. Lee Buddy Jr., the Chief Engagement Officer for Cleveland Metropolitan School District, and also one of they're now calling her one of the mothers of Cleveland, although she looks like she's a teenager today, Dr. Yvonne Pointer, who is not only a community activist, she is also the lovely host of Hope Haven. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, Dr. Buddy, you also, for 6.5 years, you call them your babies, they're still going to be your babies, was the principal over at Wade Park Elementary.
Yes, ma'am.
So when all of this COVID hit, you were navigating as a principal. Now you're out in the community doing engagement work. Tell us what that journey, being an educator, was like over those months.
So it was difficult, just trying to take care of our students, our families, our staff, not having a playbook to use to navigate, just a lot of different challenges in the community. Staff, kids not having technology, not having internet at their homes. The district did a really good job of getting PPE and was able to ramp up. So now every kid is one-to-one. They have their own laptop or iPad. Any family in the district is able to get free high-speed internet. The district has worked with the city to provide a variety of vaccination clinics. So we're at a much better part now, but really the journey, over the last 2 years, at times was really difficult, just making sure that, all of our stakeholders, but definitely our kids were okay. So our CEO, Eric Gordon, worked really well with all of the departments. So, the year that students were pretty much were home, students were able to come by the building to pick up food. At Wade Park, we did a monthly pickup of any supplies and resources that they needed. So we brought in community partners for our monthly pickup day. But definitely on the food side, students were able to come 4 times a week and pick up any food that they needed. And then we worked with community partners like Dr. Pointer for additional community-wide food distributions that she assisted us with. So it was really a coordinated effort.
Speaking of coordinated effort, community is everything. Community is like family. Talk to us a little bit about some of the roles that you played. And when I say roles, I'm not talking about what we cook in the oven. I'm talking about you had many hats, including what you did with first responders. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I love what you said about roles because I do cook those too. But it takes a village. We've heard that so many times. But this gave us an opportunity to implement that. We reached out one particular program. We realized that it was seniors that were isolated. So we reached out through Wade Park and we got some students. And we created a program where we had assigned a student to a senior. And their job was just to call them periodically. And then we even had cards made with the student's name on them. And so we had the students send the cards to the seniors. So now, even though they're isolated, they're connected. Well, another thing that we did was with the first responders, we worked with Chick-fil-A and B&M, and we got meals and we took them to all of the police districts, all of the hospitals, to the nurses. So what we found that even though we were isolated, there were still some things that could be done. All you need to do is just open up and be willing to do it. So working with the youth and the seniors, and somebody might say, well, where did you get all that money from? And I'm glad you asked that question, because we do the Hope Haven Monday through Friday, and we made appeals to the audience, and people gave. People were like, well, I can donate that, I can buy this. And so we're really grateful to have the opportunity to work in the community.
And when you say community is everything, when you have to educate hundreds of children at a time, having that support, understanding that you can't do it alone, that must have meant a lot to you. And I know you're the coolest guy on the planet, but there were probably nights, seriously, Dr. Buddy, you didn't even sleep.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Talk a little bit about the importance, again, of the support you gained, and also the support from your parents. Talk a little bit about that.
So definitely, I mean, over the 6.5 years I was at Wade Park, our enrollment went from about 292 to almost 560. So definitely during the pandemic, we had over 500 scholars that we were working to support, and every family had different needs, but really appreciative of our families that, when we called them, they showed up. As we talked about previously, our monthly pickup days, they were there when they needed additional resources or just did not know how do I help my child on this learning management platforms. The district transitioned to a platform called Schoology. So just helping parents and grandparents, know how to log in and how to support their kids, that was huge. But just having their support, and as we talked about, the community partners just played a huge role with filling in the gaps. And it was great that our families were transparent to share out. This is a need. How can you support me? And we worked really hard to support our families.
So Dr. Buddy, when we are looking at the whole idea behind vaccinations and the information about how now children as early as 5 can get vaccinated, was the school district responsible for just putting out the proper information? I know it's not mandatory, but also making sure they had the proper information. Is that what happened during that time?
So we've worked to just empower families to be able to make a choice for themselves. It's not mandated or required. I know at Way Park last semester we did hold 2 vaccination clinics where, just to make it easier for our families that felt comfortable and just based on the information we had provided for them that they wanted to vaccinate their child. So we held 2 vaccination clinics, and then during the All-Star games that just took place in February, the district worked with the city and we passed out a variety of information for our families just to, once again, provide them the information on it, provide them locations where they could go get vaccinated. And the NBA also was a partner, and they provided some incentives with like tickets and different prizes like that. So we'll continue to push out information. I know Mayor Bibb has been working really thoughtfully with his new administration, his team, just to get more families the knowledge that they need on it and provide them the access to get vaccinated if they choose to do so.
And I know not only are you a proud mother, but you're also a proud grandmother. Mm-hmm. What kind of conversations did you have with your son and the grandchildren about at least being precautious and making a decision if they wanted to be vaccinated? What was the grandmother discussion?
Well, the grandmother discussion about that was as simple as this: let's pray about it. We have to all be led by a spirit greater than ourselves, because no one really knows what's going on as far as that goes. So I would say to them, if you pray, even when I drop my granddaughter off every morning at school, I pray out loud with her so she can understand, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But the thing is that we teach them to pray and seek wisdom as to what to do, and to still be careful and cautious, and take your time about being in crowds and everything like that. Because you still have a lot of people that are just against the vaccination. And so we appreciate the correct information that's getting out.
Mm-hmm. We're so grateful to have you. I think in closing, I would like to ask, what does the summer months look like? Are things back in place? Programs designed to help feed children? Are there going to be some changes because we're still somewhat in a pandemic? What can you tell us about that so far?
So we're really excited about the summer. Last year, we provided 8 weeks of summer learning for any student in CMSD pre-K through 12. This year, we're partnering with the city, so we'll offer, right when students get out of school, early June, we'll offer 3 weeks where they can sign up for camps and clubs offered through the library, the metro parks, the city recreational department. Then CMSD will offer 5 weeks for our K-8 schools, 4 weeks for high school, and then the following 2 or 3 weeks before kids go back to school, where once again, parents can sign up through the city or through the metro parks or library. So we're working to put out all that information shortly in the next couple of weeks so that they can make decisions. But we're really just excited to now have a coordinated partnership approach with the city. So the mayor has been has been behind it. He's asking for it, and we're just really appreciative to work with him and all of our other partners throughout the city to offer just a variety of experiences for students over the summer to keep them engaged, so that there's not a huge summer drop or summer loss. So should be a fun summer for our kids in the city.
Thank you, Dr. Buddy, for joining us, and it's always a pleasure to be with my sister, Dr. Yvonne Pointer. Thank God for you, and thank God for you. We'll have more right after this.
COVID-19. We've been fighting an enemy we cannot see. But with every punch, a new variant would arise, and its blows would prove to be devastating. Step by step, with every motion and movement of the virus, the Urban League of Greater Cleveland has stayed off the ropes and in the ring fighting for you. Through the Vaxxed versus Variant campaign, we continue to share information to stay ahead of our next opponent. We've taken some hits as numbers increased, but our eyes remain focused on the prize. As we battle COVID-19, we remain strong, resilient, relentless, and tough like little giants. We will win.
Hi everybody, I'm Tremaine. I'm the first person in my family to get vaccinated. I got vaccinated because I wanted to show my family that it was safe. I also wanted to be proactive in a national pandemic. And that was me doing my part in contributing. I mean, if I couldn't do anything else, I got vaccinated to ensure my family's safety.
Every school district faced challenges during the pandemic. Here's some lessons learned from the superintendent of the Warrensville Heights City School District.
All together as one team, our team did everything they could to ensure our students' basic needs were met, but also to ensure education continued. And also, as an organization, we wanted to ensure that we kept all our employees, and that our employees who have helped us so much get to where we are remained with us throughout the pandemic. So we understood that coming off this pandemic, that we had to be back where we needed to be. And our success was based upon our schools, our teachers, our parents, all working together in person, not online. We saw that the online worked for a certain type of student, but it didn't work for all. So we were very determined to bring our students back. 2021 school year, we started to phase our students back in. January 25th parents had an option. Either they could bring their student back full-time every day, or they could remain online. At that point, about 50% of our parents elected to send their students back. Various things to ensure safety of our students. And throughout that process, we had minimal cases in the district. We did not have an outbreak in the district at all throughout that process, and we were able to continue school to the end of the school year without shutting down at all. So with that, we did an intensive plan to extend our school year. So we did 17 extra day school year for the end of the 21 school year. Again, it was voluntary, but we had over 500 kids participate in the school year. So the pandemic really taught us that the community and transparency and communication was essential, but it also showed how the community came together. So as we look forward, I think one of the key lessons from the pandemic is that we have to look at each child as an individual, and we have to be able to identify what they need and give them what they need. I think before the pandemic, it was just this mindset that everybody was the same. And with the pandemic, we found out that every child is not the same, every home situation is not the same, every kid's needs are different. And us as a school district, as an organization, have to adjust to what students need, because we pushing through this pandemic, but we've pushed through together. The students, the parents, the community, the administration, all, as our mantra here says, one team, one vision, one goal.
You're watching Vaxxed versus Variants, an Urban League update and discussion. On last week's edition,
one of the things we're very excited to offer at the centers is rapid PCR testing. I know that traditionally when people think about they get swabbed, it goes off to a laboratory. And so there has been monies contributed by the state and federally to be able to offer it literally within 30 minutes. So we can do a similar, which is a PCR test. When you think about the at-home tests, those are not PCR, but we have that technology available. So we definitely encourage individuals, if you think you have COVID, if you think you may have been exposed to COVID, please get tested.
As a mother and a grandmother, I totally understand the thought process that has to go forward when deciding, do we get our children vaccinated? I am sure that it's the same process that my parents went through when there was the polio vaccine, when there were smallpox vaccines, because they thought about the fact, I don't want my child to get sick, and I want my child to live. Those were the primary drivers in their decisions. But now we have one more factor to add, and that is we also don't want our children to be passing on the virus to others. And so we know that getting our children vaccinated is not only a safety precaution for them, but it is also for the whole family. And so that's why I'm a strong advocate. I say talk to your pediatricians. Make sure you're taking your children to get vaccinated at a place that they're comfortable and you're comfortable, because that makes a difference. But the bottom line is, let's get our children vaccinated.
Thanks for joining us on Vaxxed versus Variants, an Urban League update and discussion. We'd like to thank all of our guests who've participated today, and also reminding you to stay informed and educated about COVID-19 and the pandemic. Thanks for watching.